I'm just looking to hire guys that I don't mind hanging out with for like 12 hours a day. You guys seem like cool guys, you know, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
Great.
Was that a fart?
I don't know.
I can taste it on my tongue.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. I have been around presidents and presidential campaigns for the better part of the last 15 years while I've been covering politics, and generally the vice president doesn't matter a ton. Obviously, this is not something to be extremely obsessed over, but it does matter a lot more than usual with Donald Trump right now. And let me explain why. Donald Trump will be limited to one term. I hope, with all my heart, and will do everything in my power to put my shoulder to the wheel and ensure that Donald Trump can win and will win in 2024. However, hope against hope. Donald Trump will get only one term. He is limited constitutionally to only one term. There have been presidents who have served one term and then come back and served another. But ladies and gentlemen, in the modern era, Donald Trump can and will only serve another term. And therefore, the vice presidential pick is a huge deal. Along with the fact that what we all saw, how horrible Mike Pence was as vice president, and what a absolute Judas that guy became in the course of his crazy selling out of Donald Trump and of the America First movement. Mike Pence, of course, ending his presidential campaign before anyone even voted for him in absolute calamity and failure. And so that is why we care a lot about Donald Trump's choice for vice president. Not only because there are some people who we think would make excellent vice presidents, Tucker, Vivek, whatever, but also because this sort of leads directly into the next Republican presidency, right? You would assume, and history has shown us, that the vice president, of course, has a really big leg up on getting the presidency after the president bows out, right? After the president says, I'm done. Either after their term's done or after they decide to, like, retire into the sunset, as Donald Trump will be forced to do constitutionally after one term. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when Donald Trump went on Fox News 2 weeks ago and said, I've already made my pick for vice president, we went, huh? Hey, what?
Who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that, really. I mean, I know who it's going to be.
Give us a hint.
We'll do another show sometime.
Well, what about any of the people who you've run against? Would you be open to mending fences with any of them?
I will. I've already started to like Christie better.
This is when Christie dropped out. Christie dropped out that day.
Christie for vice president?
I don't see it. I don't see it. That would be an upset. Christie for vice president.
You know,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce.
I do want to get to this other question before.
So Donald Trump, they're saying he's already made his pick. So what am I going to say? Donald Trump saying he's already made his pick for vice president. At the time, I mused that you could read the tea leaves here and you could see that this was him picking Tucker Carlson. I still believe that. You could see that Donald Trump, in his own very specific way, kind of leans in and jokes with them because he's there with two, let's just say, anti-Trump moderators in Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, two people that definitely aren't Donald Trump's biggest fans, right? These are the people who unquestioningly read, Fox News has called Arizona for Joe Biden on election night. With 1% of the vote in. Fox News, it's Arizona. They unquestioningly oh yeah, that's normal. Anyway, Donald Trump made a joke at them. He's like, we should do another show together. You'll bring on Tucker Carlson. You'll give Tucker Carlson a show again as vice president. Tucker Carlson's name is banned on Fox News, and if I choose him as vice president, then I will force him into your mouths, right? You'll effectively be giving Tucker Carlson a show back. Tucker Carlson could do a show from the vice president's residence. And so you saw Donald Trump kind of joking around with the Fox News host, and I thought, well, that's really good, and that's fun. Now, I can tell you that that's certainly not off the table, and I'll get into that later in the video. But what is off the table, I think, is as important, okay? Trump on his VP pick. I know who it's going to be. Who is it not going to be? Nikki Haley. This is really important. Donald Trump's released an ad saying the threat from within. Nikki Haley is a threat from within. Going hard at Nikki Haley. Donald Trump has said on camera in recent interviews over the last 24 hours that Nikki Haley is a globalist fool and that Nikki Haley would make a terrible vice president. Donald Trump has openly dispelled the rumor of Nikki Haley being vice president at a campaign speech.
It's not presidential timber. Now, when I say that, that probably means that she's not going to be chosen as the vice president. You know, you can go.
There you go. And everybody applauds. And so that's a good thing. Donald Trump has also read the data, and the data says that half of Nikki Haley supporters would rather vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. So why on earth would you put that cancer on your team? This is according to NBC News. Nearly half of Nikki Haley's Iowa backers say they'd vote for Biden over Trump. Well, how on earth would that person help you out then? Doesn't make any sense. They're still going to be voting for Joe Biden. So who could it be? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a really interesting thing that was said by Glenn Beck, who's a person who was obviously very anti-Trump in the 2016 election and has come around to becoming like somebody Donald Trump calls for advice. And Glenn Beck is out saying that Donald Trump called him and said, who should I pick as VP? Glenn Beck's answer shocked Trump, but Trump said, that's the only name that I've been hearing. Watch.
Donald Trump called me and he said, any advice on who I should pick for vice president?
Oh, really?
Who do you think? Not that he's probably calling everyone.
But that's great that you're on that list.
And so he said, who do you think? And I said, I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but this is the day, I think it was the day he trashed Vivek. And I said, Vivek. And he said, why do you say that? He said, that's the number one response from everybody I've asked that question. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, A, he can defend you. He's right in your pocket. And while you're defending this, he's watching your back defending this. I said, also, I think some of his ideas are really, really good. Yeah. He connects with the youth, which now the latest of 18 to 24-year-olds that voted for Biden, they're not voting for Biden, but they won't vote for Donald Trump yet. So you get that lower vote, the people that are excited about, hey, something fresh and different. And then in 2028, when you can no longer run, you continue for another 8 years, right? And you get the credit for bringing this new, fresh face in. I said, I just think you become legendary.
And what did he say to that?
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll see. So obviously some of the biggest Trump boosters and some of the people that are very close with the campaign, like Alex Bruzewicz, are tweeting out that Vivek would obviously be a really, really smart move, very positively of Vivek. Big-time Trump influencers tweeting about Vivek and how they like him. When Vivek gave a speech with Donald Trump, people were chanting VP, VP. Listen to that. As they left the stage together, VP, VP. There they go. You can hear it clear as day.
Thank you. Wow, how was that? Pretty good, right? That was pretty good, and he's a fantastic guy.
So Donald Trump then effusively praising Vivek, and Donald Trump hinting at a vice presidential pick for his presidential cabinet. Former President Donald Trump said on Saturday that he may or may not release something in the next couple months about his choice for vice president. And Donald Trump said on Fox that there's no rush, that won't have any impact at all. The person I think will be a very good person, pretty standard. I think people won't be that surprised, but I say there's probably a 25% chance of that person. So Donald Trump speaking with a little less clarity than he said on his Fox News hit from a couple of days ago with Bret Baier, but saying that this is something that, again, he's already decided, but only 25% likelihood of that happening. Well, have a listen.
Town hall that you had an idea, or you might have already decided about your VP pick. When do you think you're going to make that?
Well, it's never really had that much of an effect on an election, which is an amazing thing. Both election and primary, it's never really had much of an effect. I may or may not release something over the next couple of months. There's no rush to that. It won't have any impact at all. The person that I think I like is a very good person, pretty standard. I think people won't be that surprised. But I would say there's probably a 25% chance it would be that person.
Is Senator Tim Scott on the list now?
No, he's a great guy. You know, he endorsed me. There's an example. Nikki comes from South Carolina. Tim Scott is from South Carolina. But if you look, the governor, great governor, another senator, Lindsey, we happen to like Lindsey. But Henry McMaster knows her very well. He endorsed me. It's very hard for a governor to endorse somebody when you have, you know, I mean, Henry McMaster was the lieutenant governor under her. And he endorsed me, and he's going to be here tonight. In 15 minutes, you're going to be watching him speak. I'm going to introduce him. He's a great guy. He's done a great job. So everybody, almost everybody in South Carolina has endorsed me. What does that tell you?
So what does that tell you? Well, some people are running with the Tim Scott as vice president pick. Tim Scott, potential Trump vice president, engaged a girlfriend, and so on. So it seems like Tim Scott is tightening up his personal life, and maybe that means that it could be Tim Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, an article published by Axios earlier in 2023, what Trump's cabinet could look like. Here in the article, they write how Tucker Carlson is a big-time favorite of Melania Trump. There's an interesting twist. Melania Trump's advocated for picking Tucker Carlson, the booted Fox News star. She thinks Carlson would make a powerful onstage extension of her husband, source close to Trump. Trump asked last month about Carlson's potential VP pick, says, I like Tucker a lot. He's got great common sense. The idea of Tucker Carlson has been discounted by many people close to Trump because they assume he'd never pick somebody who could outshine him. Trump staff convinced correctly that Carlson can't be controlled, but the two men talk a lot. So what does that mean? Well, I don't know. It seems like the same thing would apply to Vivek. Tucker Carlson was asked by me on a Twitter Spaces about being VP pick. Here's what he said.
Go. Tucker, I'm sitting here looking at an article right now from Axios. And this article says that Melania Trump wants you to be the vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump, with Donald Trump in 2024. What do you say to Melania Trump?
Well, she hasn't texted me that, and it's in, a publication published in Washington. So I'm gonna kind of reserve judgment on that. Obviously, I'm flattered if it's true. I like Melania. I don't really know her, but she's Eastern European, so that suggests we have exactly the same attitudes about everything. So I'm flattered.
Tucker Carlson commenting, however, much like the start of this video, it's good to rule out who won't be VP, Nikki Haley. It's good to rule out Tucker Carlson commenting that if Nikki Haley is the chosen VP, that he will lead the protests and marches against the Trump administration. Wow. That's hot. Watch.
Would you vote for Trump if he chose Nikki as VP? And
would you guys vote for Trump? Well, that's the question that I asked you specifically.
Well, I would not only not vote for that ticket, I would advocate against it as strongly as I could.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's just poison. I mean, here's someone who's actively opposed to the interests of the country I grew up in, who endorsed the BLM riots, and who is not only is not left, but is neoliberal in the darkest, most, speaking of nihilistic way, and has no real popular support. Is a creature of the oligarchs. So yeah, that would be reason to oppose the ticket.
Even Trump, Haley is a no-go.
Nikki Haley,
he would get assassinated immediately if that were the case.
Yeah, and by the way, I just can't imagine a world where that could happen. That would be so crazy. I mean, anything could happen, of course, but picking Nikki Haley, who's utterly treacherous and utterly dismissive of like the interests of Americans. Yeah.
It's a no-go for me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it. Tucker Carlson stating what all the rest of us believe, and now what Donald Trump believes. Thank God, what a successful campaign we have run to kill the idea of Nikki Haley as VP. Hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. This is what Donald Trump is saying on the road. They're running ads calling it a threat from within. I mean, how do you make that person your vice president? I don't see it. Tucker Carlson, Vivek, Tim Scott, It's interesting. Donald Trump commenting on the record. He knows who it's going to be. And it's going to be somebody who's not going to surprise any of us. Well, what is that? Well, for me, that would be Tucker Carlson. We shall see. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay incredibly, indefinitely based.